Okay, we're going to start up. I'm bringing the Board of Selectmen October 29th working session. I'm going to call this a working session, by the way, to order. Okay. Awesome. All right, first of all, slight apology to everybody. This has been a rough budget year so far. It's kind of the blind leading the blind a little bit. We're realizing that, how much Kim did a lot, but really how much she used to take charge of this process. And so we're kind of learning it as we go along, as Ashley is learning it as we go along too. So I apologize. I apologize to you, Rich, being the new guy, and we're stumbling along here. So I guess first we should start off. We've got two issues I think we need to work out, the three of us. The first one, let's start with the fire department. So it is my position that I think we hold off on this additional full-time position for this year. Again, like I tried to say last week, the other night, which I might not have been totally clear, this is going to be a transition year for the fire department. And I think we really need to focus in on that, on how the new filling positions will work this year. I really appreciate Mike and Brandon speaking up the other night. I learned some things that I didn't know. And I would like to even talk about, yes, we're not gonna put that position in, but maybe we talk a little bit about some ideas. Rich has some good ideas about how we can beef up the number of firefighters that are EMTs, some ideas along that line that I'll let Rich talk to. So for the fire department budget, and I had Lynn rerun it again, removing that position, but then also beefing up the health insurance numbers so that we make sure we have money for family coverage for all of the full-time positions in the fire department, so that we don't run into a situation where we want to hire somebody and we don't, we have enough money for them to have a family health insurance coverage. So that's where I stand. So I will open it up to the two of you on that topic. Who wants to go first?
Please.
Well, I think we've already discussed it, and I made it. I mentioned it at the fire wards meetings that to go ahead and hire a new person this year, which I think the chief is in the process of doing. They interviewed someone who was really good this week. But not put another position in the 27 budget. So we'll wait on that. I think that's the best thing to do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that. I was just curious, in terms of, we're talking roughly round numbers, $100,000 for a new position, is that right? 115. And does that include the health insurance then?
That's health insurance, retirement, FICA, everything that would go up with a new position.
Got it. And the one thing I had mentioned was the possibility of whether or not it might make sense to put a little bit of money into the budget, and I'd be curious to hear the chief's thoughts on this. And just an idea. We currently would pay, my understanding is we would pay the course cost of becoming an EMT for a firefighter, is that right?
Partial. So for the full-time firefighters, we have paid if an individual, for instance, Captain Matthew was in Florida as a licensed, nationally registered EMT. When he transitioned out of Florida to the state fire marshal's office, he let his license lapse because there's a certain amount of continuing ed that you need on an annual basis. And so when we hired him, one of the conditions was to obtain his EMT within a year's time frame. And so we did pay for that. Typically, there's a stipend that we give towards the EMT because it's about $2,000 per class. We pay for the entire level 1 and level 2 certifications. So we plan for 5 people on an annual basis to go through, but we don't compensate them for their time. We pay for the class. They just take it on their own time.
And you said we usually only do this for the full-time firefighters, or?
That's correct, because we have a non-transporting license. And so for the call members, and again, typically it's a $500 or $750 stipend, and it's gone up as time has gone on. We don't run the ambulance. We don't have a perceived fast squad, a designated crew.
Right.
But during the daytime hours, that's when the full-time people are responding. Typically at night, our general membership are not responding. So last year, there were 699 EMS calls. Out of those, 277 of them were covered by either the daytime crew, or if there was a CPR call, we had a drowning. There's various incidents that come up that then our personnel would be requested for.
So, Chief, I'm trying to understand that with our regular on-call volunteer/volunteer firefighters, we will pay for them to take the course, though, correct?
If they want.
Right.
Okay.
And
If they want up to a stipend.
Yeah.
So usually in the past, it's been 500, and now it's 750 out of the,
but that wouldn't cover the entire cost of the course, then?
that's correct.
What do you have in your budget now for that? You just said we try to budget for 5 people a year.
I want to say right now, it's about $7,200. I don't have my budget in front of me. Is that correct? And so when you look at the level 1 classes, and certainly the state's gone down because of some federal grant stuff that they've done, but in the past that was right around $500. So there's 5 individuals, $2,500. Same thing for level 2. So you're talking $5,000, and then there's $2,200 for either EMTs or our officers. We encourage them, we can't make them, we encourage them to take continuing ed classes or whatever the case may be from a leadership perspective. And so we have $2,200 in there for the 10 officers, because we figure $200 a piece. And then there's various trainings or conferences that I might attend or others.
So I guess what I was wondering is whether or not do you think it might be beneficial if we were to tuck a bit more money into the budget? You know, I personally like the idea of if one of our members wants to become, get trained as an EMT.
Sure.
If it's costing $2,000.
Yep.
That we would simply cover that cost. And that my thought was then after a year, in other words, if they were a member of the fire company then for a year after completing their training, at their 1-year anniversary of becoming an EMT, we would cut them a check, say, for $1,000. In other words, essentially,
To incentivize them to,
Incentive.
yeah,
Yeah.
to understand that we are asking not just for them to pay the cost, we're not just going to cover the cost of the course, but effectively, yes, give them some money for the time that they're going to put in to do that.
sure.
Do you think that might have any impact in terms of some of our members finding it more appealing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that if the class is paid for and there's some sort of stipend at the end, I mean, we could even go so far as saying we'll pay for, because there are some individuals that choose, not to put one of our captains on the spot, but Jeff Daly, who's our K-9 officer in town, he went to Laconia for fire science. He has all the credentialing to be a full-time firefighter. The thing he doesn't particularly like is EMS. And so he chose to pivot and go into the police field as opposed to, now he still responds to EMS calls and provides, assistance, getting stretchers or whatever the case is. He's great on scene, but he would prefer not to have hands-on a particular patient. So there's some individuals that we're just not going to have that, and Jeff takes every Monday as far as on call. So I do think that it's an interesting idea. Certainly, if you want to put money in the budget, it's worth a try, especially if there's, the feeling of waiting for the next individual.
Can I interrupt you just for
Sure.
a second? What I heard the other night was the need that there's a shortage of folks that are EMTs. So I guess let me put it back to you. Do you think these ideas would be helpful?
I think any ideas, like, again, all we're doing is putting fingers in a hole of a boat
Yep,
that's sinking,
agreed,
right?
agreed.
So anything that I am open to any ideas.
Okay.
And so it doesn't meet a call comes in. In fact, I had a conversation with the EMS director and saying, because I want to make sure that New London Hospital knows we fully support New London Hospital, and certainly highlighting some of the areas of opportunities when it comes to the ambulances not being available. They're covering 7 towns. They're transporting patients. They're running their operation day in, day out. So we are 100% behind New London Hospital, the way they run their organization and how they run their organization.
But there's a gap there.
Absolutely.
So-
Not to say that if we have a building fire in town, we can have 2 building fires. The
Yep.
chances are, so we are an insurance policy.
Yep.
And it all depends on, do you want to spend $250, $500, $1,000 for the deductible? Do you want to not have, like I would consider the non-emergency calls a chipped window or a cracked window? Do you not want your window replaced when you look at that insurance policy? So I think that at this point, it's important for us, and we've done this throughout my tenure with the New London Fire Department. How can we provide services? How can we better things and balance that out from being fiscally responsible? How is it palatable? And we understand that there are conflicting projects and there's a set amount of money, and we don't want to have increases, but we still want to continue. And it's not only the services provided, it's the health and wellness of our organization. It's the safety of not only the residents, but also our firefighters. So when you're throwing ladders and there's a shortage and it's a 35 and a person is carrying it or 2 people are carrying it when it really should be 3, that leads to some complexities. So I'm open to any ideas, and certainly to Rich's point, increasing call pay, like we can try that if that's something that you're interested in. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad idea, the EMT aspect. Now, again, I can't, no different than when Rich was on the department, I can't say, I need you to come to 50 calls on an annual basis.
No.
I can't do that.
But if
So with the EMT aspect, I can't say to the organization, we need you to be EMTs, especially when, so it's on a volunteer basis.
Well,
Certainly an interesting concept.
It's an experiment. Try it out. Offer them, we'll pay the whole class, and and see if they take you up on it. It's just an idea.
Again,
Would that be so the other thing too is, out of our currently 35 members, we just dipped down 1 additional. Would that be something for certified firefighters as well that you would entertain? Because I think that would be beneficial from an incentive. Again, we're paying for the level 1 class, but a year after that to have some sort of bonus. And the only reason why I say that is when we look at equitability, our primary job is firefighters. That's what we do day in, day out. That's the largest percentage of our calls. And I could see individuals saying, hey, why is it that now you're giving a stipend for EMT and not us to get our
How
level
much does
1
that
or level
cost?
2?
How much does that cost? Level 1 or level 2?
Around $500, depending
so
on
around
the,
the same.
that's what we budgeted for, but it fluctuates on an annual basis.
Well,
we do
pay-
pay that course, though.
We pay the course.
Right, yeah.
But as far as they're
Right.
spending their own 200 hours, like we have a Colby Sewer student currently driving up to Rumney, New Hampshire,
Right.
and taking that class.
Can you tell me in terms of, I don't know what the time commitment is to get your fire level 1 as opposed to EMT? Are they
220 hours compared to now it's almost 1,000 hours
for EMT?
for your EMT. But be the time you go to the classes, and then there's also clinical hours. And the other thing too is just because you have your EMT license, and I was having a conversation with Brandon because this is what he's really passionate about. Just because you have your EMT license doesn't mean that you're an EMT. Like, you really need to have hands-on, and that's one thing that I think New London Hospital is amazing with, because not only do they have their EMTs and medics, but they're also practicing those skills day in and day out at the New London Hospital. So there's, from an acclimation and experience standpoint, I think there's a higher level there. So we're certainly grateful for that.
So, then what I might propose then is, based on what you just told us about the time commitment, et cetera, that, again, the idea would be that a year after becoming firefighter level 1, you would get a $200 check. Just, there's above and beyond the cost of the course, of course.
Yep.
Just effectively to say thank you. There's 1 year later. And similarly, 1 year after becoming an EMT, you would get a check for $1,000 from the town. Again, and with no other commitment. In other words, it's not like, you're signing on for a 3-year, it's not like
Sure.
that. But rather, just if a year later you're still in the department, we would cut you a check for $1,000. And just to, it is not by any means meant to say we're going to cover your time, because that's not, based on what you just told us about the time involved. But it would just be an added incentive because my understanding is we have 5 EMTs on the department currently, is that right? If I heard correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, again, it would just be a small way for the town to express its appreciation for someone making that kind of effort.
If we were, and hypothetically, just from an easy math standpoint, if we were to pay for a firefighter to go through a 220-hour class, and it's, actually, that's probably not correct. It's probably right around $3,000, because we're right, 1425. So it's 3,100.
I'm sorry, what's 31?
31, like if we were to pay for a person, Jay Lyon signs up as a member of the New London Fire Department. I have no experience. We're paying him $14.25 an hour, a 220-hour class. That's $3,135
For the firefighter level?
for the firefighter level.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're already covering that, though.
No, we're only paying $500, you said.
We're just paying for the class. We're not even
but
paying
that-
for the individuals to go to class.
Right, but
paying
exactly,
for
but
the
what I'm
class.
saying is we do pay for the course itself.
We pay for the course.
The
Okay.
$3,000.
No.
This is what I'm not.
So the class, we budget $500 a year for a firefighter class to pay the tuition
Okay,
for that.
yeah,
Then the person on their own time, they're not being compensated to be one of your certified firefighters.
Yeah.
They're going on their own time. If we were hypothetically to pay them
oh,
to go and get their certification, we would be paying them $14.25 an hour.
yep,
220 hours, you're talking $3,135.
I mean, again, this, what I'm suggesting is a small, effectively a thank you. I'm not looking to pay people based on, because in other words, my expectation is that this is primarily because out of their own desire to learn more and become better at it. We've never paid people in the past anything to become a firefighter level 1 or to become an EMT, aside from the cost of the course. They got nothing at all. And so, again, my thought process is just just a small way of encouraging people to consider it, especially the EMT, because, that's a substantially higher level of commitment. My concern is that, when we start paying, if we were, the proposal were that we would pay, on an hourly rate for people to be
Oh,
there.
it's expensive, and that's the reason, again, we as an organization, the town policy has always been a 2-hour minimum. The organization chose a half-hour reimbursement for us responding to calls.
Yeah.
We've tweaked that to an hour,
right,
right? So we as an organization historically, and to your point, well, we've never compensated firefighters for getting certified. Maybe we've had 30 years of not having to pay people, and look at the money that we've saved, right? We've had live-in students for the last, not this year, but for 8 years prior to this year, someone at the station 24 hours a day. We're not compensating that individual. The benefits that we've received as a community have been pretty significant because we've taken a stance of how do you modify things. Our calls, we choose to modify our calls in order to save money and also to make it more palatable for those that volunteer their time, that are our paid employees, to have to respond. You know, I was chatting with our chief fire ward, and there are going to be times moving forward that we're just going to have to push the button because we may not have individuals willing to step up and take call. And it's just, that is on an annual basis, you know, our general response. And so, again, just a guesstimate, if you only have 7 firefighters show up, you're talking right around $250 for every general alarm that goes out, with only 7 firefighters on average. So I think that those are the things that are going to happen moving forward, and those are the things that we're trying not to be having the same issues that we did in the 90s. And our calls today are 5 times the number that we were doing in the 90s. But many of these smaller communities around us are dealing with the same calls that we were dealing with in the 90s, just because of their population size and whatever the case is. So I understand that to wait, and you know, there's several different thoughts that I have. Do we phase in this person, and instead of hiring them July 1st, do you wait until September or November, January, whatever the case is, to not spend money? If there's truly a need out there, which there is, how do we look at things in a differing manner to make it palatable moving forward? And so I understand that the board is not going to support an additional person, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned for you guys, so.
What I might,
I was going to say, go ahead. I was going to say, I think we should go back to the conversation about putting more money in for
yeah, you know, what I was,
helping you to incentivize folks to,
Okay.
what I was going to propose would be, you know, if we were to add, say, $20,000 to the budget, which would be, you know, for you, Chief, to determine how to best utilize it. Meaning, in other words, first of all, if someone wants to become an EMT, I like the idea of her or him not having to pay any of the costs to become an EMT. And, you know, because, I mean, again, we do pay for the firefighter level 1. And I understand it's a more expensive thing to become an EMT, but I just, you know, again, if one of our people wants to do that, that would be one thing. A second thing would be to have money available, which really, truthfully, wouldn't impact much, because again, I'm thinking a year after, on their 1-year anniversary of becoming an EMT or firefighter level 1, they'd get $200 for being a firefighter level 1, or $1,000 for becoming an EMT.
Okay.
And then the other thing is to utilize that $20,000 in addition, potentially to bump up the per diem on the weekends, if you think that might be helpful. And in addition, finally, to use that money, and again, whatever mix you think might work. For example, to run an occasional ad in the Kearsarge Shopper, for example, or to anything you think that might, because when I hear that we're at 35 now out of a max of 45, to my mind, if the average firefighter can turn out twice a month, if we can get to maximum of 45, that additional 10 firefighters is an additional 20 responses per month. And anything that we can do to have more firefighters available for you, to potentially turn out a few more people here or there, is helpful. In other words, anything we can do to basically be running at a full staff to help, to enable you to do whatever you think would be helpful in terms of encouraging that.
So just looking at the, to your point, the call pay. So you had mentioned doubling the call pay. And in doing so, for the 104, there's weekends, there's holidays, and then there's 250 nights that need to be covered. So if you were to double that amount, it would be 72, but we do have 2 full-time people that are going to be still on those 24-hour shifts, so there's 4 days covered, 4 days not.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jay, when you say doubling the call pay, what do you mean?
So you had mentioned going from to $300 for the weekends.
Right, exactly, from, I'm sorry, where are we at again now?
180, I guess it
180.
wasn't doubling.
Right, so yeah.
Increasing, I should have
Yes,
said.
to go from 180 to 300, and that was, I was throwing out a number, yeah.
Yep. And so that would be, looking at this, that would be $72,000 a year. And
Wait, I'm sorry, how do we get to 72? Because I'm thinking that's an additional,
120 a weekend?
right,
so
well, 240 for Saturday and Sunday.
it's 180 on the weekends and then 90 for the midweek.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just talking about the increase, to bump it up to 100, so that's $240 additional per weekend.
So I would say if you're going to do something, do it fair and equitably. If you're going to increase something to $300 for the weekends, then pay the firefighters $150 midweek, because those are the individuals that are responding to a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning, then grabbing their kids and going to work or dragging their kids to school or whatever the case is. So what if you're going to make that proposal, the $300 a shift for a 24-hour period is to have 150, and it's not as bad as it sounds, because you do have, again, 2 people working 24-hour shifts.
And so how much do we pay for someone who's covering the overnight right now?
$90, half of what we pay on the weekends, because they're only working 12 hours, not the 24 hours.
Got it, okay.
So if you were to increase that to $300, that would be $150 on the midweek shifts. So it would actually be $36,000
As an increase or as the total?
as the total. It would be a slight increase, and I don't have that down, but just looking at the numbers, because there's 104 weekends, right? 52, double that. 11 holidays, 250 midweek times, which is $72,000, and you divide that by half, because then you have 4 people covering half the time.
So, then what I would suggest is if we added $25,000 to the budget, an increase, in other words, a number of 25,000, for you to utilize in whatever combination, because, when I throw out a number of 300, that is literally me throwing out a number. I have no idea what you think would be the most effective, in other words, whether it's the weekends or the evenings. I have a hunch, at least, as to what you think would be the most.
I know it would be effective, but
Right.
it's not
So,
palatable, so.
But what I'm thinking is that $25,000 in the budget would be for you to potentially increase both the weekend and the evenings, as you said, for equitability.
Yeah.
To whatever amount you think it makes sense, and then also have some money left to pay the full course, the full cost of an EMT course, and have some money left in your budget to pay that $1,000 on a 1-year anniversary, or $200 for a firefighter level 1 on the 1-year anniversary.
Well, that'll be next year's budget.
Yeah, well, the only thing is if someone started EMT next week, for example,
Yeah.
they would then have their 1-year, like, assuming, let's say.
It's not going to hit this fiscal year, it'd be the following. So let's hypothetically say it's $1,850 for the EMT class, and of course I'm doing 18,000. And we say we have 5 individuals on an annual basis, that's $9,250.
$9,250.
Yep.
And you've got,
And that doesn't include the stipend, because that would hit in fiscal
Right.
year 2028.
okay.
And I just think somehow to me, the idea of our firefighters reaching into their own pocket to up their skill level like that just doesn't seem quite appropriate. How do you folks feel about $25,000 in the budget for those purposes?
It makes sense. But I think Mr. Ensign would like to say something. Am I wrong about that, Steve?
Would I like to say something?
I can just tell you're chomping at the bit back there.
I continue to be an advocate for the original budget that we put in. Now, you can take the car and move it on another year, as you have suggested. We're talking about, right now, trying to manage the same cohort of individuals that are now involved with the fire department. I'm not sure that people are rushing to Jay and saying, I want to become an EMT. That's not the issue. The issue is time commitment. If you're dealing with so now I get my EMT, I'm still got issues with my family on the weekend. I'm not changing my response time because you fund me to get my EMT doesn't mean I feel some sort of requirement to show up when the call comes in. You can't do that with the call volunteers.
No,
It doesn't work.
I understand that, Steve. It's just that at the last meeting, we were told that one of the concerns is that we don't have enough EMTs available. And to my mind, the higher the percentage of our firefighters who become an EMT, the better the chances that you'll have someone who's an EMT who shows up.
For us to have more EMTs means that when we get someplace before the ambulance arrives, we're able to do certain things, which is of value to the individual that's in distress. But when we start, because it's not necessarily about the money. You want to throw more money at the people that we've got. They're not complaining about the funding that they're getting now. It doesn't mean that when you get more money, if that still doesn't solve the problem, we've simply increased the base pay for people. We can't take it back because the next year we're going to get a full-time employee. Janet sat in on a basically interview the other day, and she heard the individual, the candidate, who appears to be a likely individual for us. And he spoke of two different things. One, working within the existing system if funding didn't come down the way we hoped. But he was an advocate for the direction that the fire department is attempting to go and should go. I understand it's a big number. But if you take the $25,000 or $30,000 or whatever it's going to cost more, particularly when we go to more general alarms, you're chipping away at what would be the funds available for another full-time employee. We're still going to be coming back. I'm sure the fire ward's going forward, whoever the fire chief is going forward, is going to keep coming back and saying this is what we need. We're here right now. You have the opportunity to support the fire department, to support what the Board of Fire Wards is working toward and has been for, now, when Janet was in the meeting, I made a comment the other day that when we put this plan in place and discussed it before with the selectmen going forward and started chipping away at the full-time employee positions, building up to the 4, it had been anticipated and expected that the issue of the fire department, out in the police department, would have been resolved already, that money would have been committed, and that we would be in this sort of tranche well before something happened with the DPW building, that we would be sort of sequencing in, and we'd be sitting here talking about adding a new employee, the police department having been resolved, having a budget or a bond or whatever taken place, not having the DPW have a problem, and so we're sort of caught. We know what needs to be done. We know it costs money, And somewhere along the line, the selectmen and the town have got to support the direction we're going. It's not working with the volunteers. Times change. Rich, you were on for 12 years, I think you commented the other day that you enjoyed your service.
Steve, sorry.
Huh?
Can you get in front of the microphone? I'm afraid that we're not going to be able to catch the notes.
Sorry,
Thank you.
but you didn't, as an individual, something happened in your life that made you no longer be able to be involved. Kids, business, or whatever. So you're kind of an example of what happens along the way. With great intentions, you get involved, and then the issues of life surround you, and you say, I can't give that time anymore. And that's what we're faced with, and we're trying to manage around. We want to make it the best we possibly can so that those volunteers in call pay, whether they're EMTs or not, having that designation doesn't mean you're going to show up when the call comes in. And there's no way to require that of people. So I think $25,000, $30,000, I think that's basically short money when you look at the cost to bring on a new full-time employee. So take that $130,000, and now you're netting 100. We need to move the fire department, the town of New London, needs to acknowledge that it needs to move forward in this manner. And throwing more money at the cohort that's there doesn't do it, because once you do that, you can't take it away. Next year we say, okay, now we're going to fund a full-time firefighter. We're no longer going to give you the $200 and some odd for a weekend. You're going to go back to what you had. It doesn't work.
But Steve, what we were told was that we are having difficulty getting people to take weekend shifts.
Getting people to,
Take weekend shifts and to take evening shifts. If we offered $10,000 on a Saturday to cover the weekend shift, we would have plenty of people eager to take that shift. It's basic economics, that the more you pay, the more appealing it becomes. And what I'm suggesting is
I'm going to have to leave that one to Jay. My mind is that sometimes
Could
it's,
that be a detailed pay so I could get in on that $10,000? Mike's in.
Thank you. That's exactly my point.
I mean, would you
So in
accept
other
an
words,
80-year-old firefighter?
every dollar we increase that weekend pay,
Yeah.
we're trying to respond to the stated concern. Every dollar that we increase that weekend pay or the evening pay makes it more likely that someone's going to sign up. Again, so what I'm getting at is this. We were told that was the issue, that's one of the issues. A issue, okay,
Yeah.
yes. And we have said, therefore, we are willing to pay a bit more. And let's see if that, in addition, as I said, if we're running at 35 firefighters and we have a max of 45, those 10 if we can fill those 10 slots, and let's say they turn out twice a month, that's 20 more responses we'll have. And again, what I'm suggesting is that we can do things to try to help with this issue of the manpower, and yet not, this budget has increased from $333,000 to the original proposal was $1,080,000 from 2019 to 2027. Now, I understand it has increased dramatically because we're proposing an entirely different way of doing the fire department.
Yeah.
But again, it just, and I've said repeatedly, do I believe you when you say it would be more effective? Absolutely. There are a lot of things we could spend money on that would make various things more effective. We could hire more people for the DPW. We could hire more people for the police department. We could hire more people for the fire department. But the numbers are relentless. And a budget that's increasing 10% a year, to my mind, is not tenable. And at a certain point, we have to start doing things to rein that in. And that means, yes, hard decisions. But I've said repeatedly, I believe the chief when he says this would make it a stronger fire department. I don't have any doubt about that.
I would just add that your 20 more responses per month is another one person at a call per month. That's what you're talking about, a single person.
It's a hypothetical.
And so, right, we can wish in one hand and spit in the other and see what comes first. I mean, and I get your point, and the EMT response is a concern. It's another advantage. So when you looked through my plan, right, my staffing plan that took in consideration where we've been, equitable towns, surrounding towns, all those good things, there's in there advantages of having additional full-time people. And part of those is certainly having trained EMTs. Again, this board has already made the decision. It's not a matter, I don't think it's worth rehashing. I know that Steve's passionate but it is what it is. Is it a problem, right, to be solved, or is it truth to be accepted? At this point, I just have to accept the fact that there's non-support. But I would say that your $25,000 for the EMT aspect, I would also add in there the cost of that EMT. So there's the $25,000 for the call pay. There should be the cost of the EMT. So it's, if we guesstimate 5 people at $1,850, that's $9,200. So that's $34,250 that I would make the recommendation to increase. I also think that the call pay should be increased, and you know, if we thought that the board may waiver, I would say, okay, let's reduce our personal protective equipment. Let's not replace some of our fire gear, uniforms and safety. You know, the full-time people, okay, we don't, unless there's holes in our pants or whatever, we won't replace that. I mean, there's things that we could do. And I went through with Chief Cobb, just picking her brain, like, what would you do? What are some of the thoughts? And so there's probably like $25,000 that we could defer, looking line item by line item and picking apart. But again, I still don't think that gets us over the goal line. I still, unless you guys say, yes, there are things that you could do to maybe help advocate, I feel like the board's made the decision, and it is what it is. So I do think, though, when you look at the cost, I would actually add probably $60,000 to the budget, because there are going to be times that we're going to have to go to general alarms. That's going to increase calls, and then by the time you look at the,
I'm gonna say 25,000
I think
was your original.
Yeah.
Add it to the 7,200 that you have in that line. This, like I said at the beginning, this is gonna be a transitional year this
Okay.
year. And so
Yep.
this will be extra money, and, because it's your budget, it's not our,
it's not my budget.
so it's your bucket
It's
of
going to be
money.
someone else's budget. It's not mine.
It's the fire department's bucket of money to do
Yeah.
with what they want, and we've made some suggestions.
Okay.
And so we'll put that money in there towards it, and that's.
Yeah, and that would be the idea, is that, you know,
Yeah.
you would divide it up in whatever way you
Be
think
creative and.
is appropriate. You know, there's
Yeah.
whatever is the most effective way, and that means if you said, you know what, I think giving people $1,000 to become an EMT isn't going to make any difference, then we'll skip it.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah.
think that
We're just giving you ideas.
No, and again, we're always open to different
Yeah.
ways of staffing levels. How do we accomplish our mission statement? How do we provide the best service possible while still being fiscally responsible?
But I mean, certainly, you know,
I got it.
to go from 35 firefighters to 45 is an increase of roughly 20% or so. Increasing our staff by 20%, I'm hoping would be helpful, at least to some small extent. You know, that's
So I would say if it was the police department, you're increasing them 25%, right? They currently have 9 patrol officers. You're going to add 3 more, hypothetically. I guess that would be 33. But that's going to make a real difference, because you're a certified police officer when you get hired in the state of New Hampshire. So from a full-time perspective, that makes sense. For us, and unfortunately it was Halloween, because I would have had a help wanted sign, and that you're going to see that, Rich, in front of the station. Again, we have people, we have full-time firefighters in the town of New London or surrounding towns that don't want to participate, that aren't able to participate. The cream of the crop
Yeah.
right? And so the issue is, even when you have good trained people,
Yep.
they still, because of whatever complexities that they have in their life, can't participate at a volunteer level.
Right, and so Chief, my question is,
And especially when you look at the age of New London. I mean,
Bill Helm
look at
had-
town meeting and let's scoop up a lot of people, because when I stand at the door, I actually talk to individuals and say, hey, why don't you join the New London Fire Department? So,
Bill Helm sent me this article about towns in Vermont and how they're recruiting remote workers, like the tech guys that are working remotely. Putting an ad on LinkedIn might get you some volunteers. Those guys love that stuff, and they're working remotely. They can get up and leave their desk for a minute and respond to a
Okay.
call.
and you,
I thought you were going to recommend that we like remotely AI a car
no.
crash or a fire.
No,
Okay,
they
okay.
have flexible
Yes,
schedules.
gotcha. Yep.
They have flexible
Yep.
schedules, so they can get up.
Yep.
It's a great article about
Yep.
we can
recruiting.
increase the department from 35 to the max of 45. That's
Yeah.
an increase of more than 25%. And to my mind, an increase of 25% in personnel, whatever the average number of calls are that our firefighters are responding to, that's a substantial increase, a 25% increase.
Rich, I do not disagree with you. I don't think you're wrapping your head around the actual problem.
Okay.
So with that being said, I appreciate the recommendation, and I appreciate the different thoughts. We can talk offline, but when it comes to the true issues, it's more complicated than just throwing money at it. It's more complicated than, and we've been dealing with this for years and years. But I do appreciate the recommendation for $25,000. Thank you.
Jay, you haven't withdrawn the SAFER grant, correct? So
We
you
have not with,
You still may get that, correct? And
yes.
if you do, then that would be at least one more person, and we would only have to pay 20% of that salary.
It would actually be for two people.
Okay, well, two people.
Yep, it would be for two people, and if we remove the monies that are proposed, because if we have a full-time firefighter, the monies that would be used for that firefighter would be then reallocated towards paying that 25%. So if we cut the person out of the budget, or I should say, when you cut the person out of the budget, then there will be insufficient funds for this calendar year to put that person on. And we would have to decline the increase, or if we were recipients of that budget, we would not have the money in our operating budget to absorb that.
So you're talking about this calendar year or the 27?
Hypothetically, let's say the government opens up next week and they say, okay, now we're going to award the town of New London a grant, and it's a 25%, that's $50,000 that we would be responsible for covering, the 25%, not including overtime. So hypothetically, if we receive that grant and we cut this position out, then we would have insufficient funds to accept that grant.
Okay.
And we can't steal it from another department, right? We only had $18,000 in total last year out of $11 million, what was it?
I said they could steal it from another department. The question is, one of those SAFER grants is for someone you're going to hire imminently, correct? Isn't one of those SAFER grants for the extra employee?
No. So we have 2 spots currently filled for our 24-hour rotation. The SAFER grant was written, right, currently Brandon, and then the open position left by,
That you're about to hire for, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought one of those was a SAFER grant position.
no, because it's something you can't,
Okay.
I think it's called supplant funds. If you have a spot available, you can't grab grant funds and use that for a spot that's already been approved. This would be for the completion of the plan, right? The fire department plan moving forward, and again, if you look at the documentation that I sent you, there's a whole timeline as far as what we're looking to do. So What we had made the recommendation is to phase the person in. So this year in fiscal year 2027, we'd hire a person and then another person in 2028. If we received the grant, 2 people would be hired currently, which would then meet the needs of the fire department moving forward. That grant would be for 3 years, a phased-in, again, approach, because you're spending 25%, 20%, 25%, and then I think it was 60 or 65% for the.
Okay. I thought Brandon was the safer grant hire.
Yeah.
Because I thought we talked about this for budget 2026. You
Again,
added a position.
Look at the spreadsheet, and
Okay.
it breaks down
That's fine.
pretty clearly.
Okay.
But
I
thank
just
you.
was
Yeah.
confused on that point.
Okay.
Okay.
If we don't have this position in the budget and we get the SAFER grant, how do we go about hiring someone if it's not an individual that's already in the budget? Who do we go to? Do we go back to the selectmen and say, now we have the money, now we need to revise our budget mid-year? We can't, I don't believe.
If, again, hypothetically, it was in between November 1st and January, or whenever the budget is finalized, maybe before the public hearing, I'm not sure when you can actually tweak it, then you would be able to say we were recipients, and would the town like to put those monies into the fiscal year 2027 budget in order to fund the grant that was received?
So that
If-
would be a warrant article? I mean, somehow you got to get the number changed.
No, you can change the number up until about a week before the public hearing. So that can be changed throughout this budget season. If you learn that you have the SAFER grant, you come back to the select board,
And
you come
tell
back
us
to
you have
budget
it.
committee.
And it would be $50,000 that we would have to come up with?
At least.
Okay,
Yep.
so there's,
And to be clear, at the end of 3 years, the expense would be on us completely, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep. But what it would do is, right, we'd be paying for, in fiscal year 2027, 75% 2028, so it would actually give us an extra year, and then the tax impact over the next 3 would be somewhat minimized. You'd get the benefit of 2 full-time people for basically half the price or a quarter of the price.
Right, and my understanding, if I recollect, is that unlike what we were originally expecting, it wouldn't actually pay the entire cost of that fire.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah, with the new administration, they modified that slightly.
okay.
So when you lay your heads on the pillow at night, think SAFER grant, okay?
Yeah.
That's,
Okay,
we need that.
all right.
We also need your support now, but we realize we're not going to.
It's saying it's 72 in here, it's lying.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It says it's 72 in here, it's lying.
Okay,
Okay, how would you like to move forward? Were there any other bigger topics you wanted to
Yes.
cover first before we, okay?
yes. Okay, the next big topic is the, go ahead.
Have you finalized what you're doing on fire? Do you want
Fire,
to take a
adding-
vote on that so I can?
Adding 25,000 to the,
Right. To be split as Jay needs it in buckets, but do you guys want to vote on that so that I can
we
bring
can
that
vote.
to,
We can vote on it.
or not? I mean, if you're going to finish before the budget committee addresses this area, then,
We can vote on that.
Vote on the whole thing.
And then, but we're still talking about COLA stuff, so that will add to the fire department.
oh, that's true, so no point in.
Right, so
Right.
no.
Okay.
Voting on an amount for that yet, because that might be coming to a change. Okay, so yes, our next topic, unless we want to back up and just vote on the library budget right now, so that's done for the budget committee meeting tonight. We could do that.
Sure.
And the library,
90 in your, it's page 90 in your budget binder.
okay, and that amount is, Tracy Memorial Library, 789,618. Do I have that right? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the library budget in the amount of $789,618? That would include. Yeah, but they make that decision. We don't make that decision for them. They make that decision. We can, and they can decide whether to change it or not.
Is that I thought that the select board ultimately gets to either recommend or not that number.
But not for the library.
Correct.
So if we come back with a different recommendation, then they may change it to match it. But it's up to them.
Correct.
So we can make a different recommendation.
Yes, and then it's up to them. We'll make the decision on our part, and then when. they
But
hear what
ultimately,
we
it's the
decide to
Board
do-
of Trustees for the library that,
So we can vote on this now, so it's accepted, and then if they decide to match whatever we end up with, and that results in a change, then it changes. It won't go up.
Right, I think what Rich is asking is, so you vote on the library as a lump sum?
Yeah.
You can choose to lower that number and vote on that number, and then they would have to make a hard choice on what they do or don't do with the money. They've always followed our COLA recommendation, but they don't have to. So like I said, you can choose not to vote on this number or not to, approve this number and change it. If that makes sense.
Okay, so let's talk about the COLA issue first then. Oh, but it can be blocked, okay. Okay, so, step increase and COLA topic. Let's go to there. I'll start. I stated at the meeting the other night that I support sticking with the step increase program at 2.5% and the COLA when we get it from the Consumer Price Index, which we don't usually look at until November. I support continuing with that this year because that's what has been done historically, but moving forward, I want to consider working on a policy this year that puts into place a standard so that we're not sitting here every single year and looking out at our employees' faces and talking about this because our employees are very important to us, and I want to protect them as well, because moving forward, because believe it or not, there are years when there is no COLA increase. I printed off a history of COLA over the last 25 years. 2009 and 2010, there was nothing. So I would like to propose a policy where there's a minimum and a maximum, and so that every year you're guaranteed something. And you're protected also from future, people that might get elected to the Board of Selectmen in future years that want to cut all of this stuff. So that's my proposal is let's continue this year with what we've done in the past and spend the year coming up and working with department heads on a policy moving forward. So who wants to go next?
Bibi, can I just clarify? Are you thinking about COLA as a standalone or COLA and step increase in terms of a range?
Well, the step increase is a policy that, the step program, I'm gonna call it, is what we have in place. What we did as a result of the wage study a few years back, we fund that program throughout the year. Our employees have performance evaluations with department heads. Department heads have performance evaluations with the town administrator. Town administrator has performance with the selectmen. And a decision is made whether that employee gets their step increase or not. So it's not a guaranteed 2.5% for our employees. That is a program that we have put in place. And we fund the whole thing under the assumption that they all will get their step increases, but it's not guaranteed. Different from teachers' contracts and Kearsarge, that's guaranteed, they get their step every year. So that's one part. And then the other part is the COLA, that we use the Consumer Price Index, which it's looking like it's going to land at around 3%. We don't know it yet. So I propose this year, we stick with that, what we've done, what we've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years, but we look going forward. I think not the step increase, my proposal will be, leave that the way it is. My proposal is let's put a policy in place for the COLA to protect the employees and to protect the town too, to make sure we have a sustainable budget financially going forward.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Ashley,
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? How many employees do we have in the town?
Oh, full-time, part-time?
Full-time?
We have 45 and 50.
Okay, and out of 45 employees, how many did not get their step increase based on the performance review?
One.
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 And we have 4 employees that are maxed out that don't get step increases.
Sorry, I just need to step out and speak to Chief Cobb for a second.
But I think that, I hear what you're saying, and I've had conversations with Ashley about this. Ashley's background is in HR. I think there will be a deeper dive look into the performance evaluation process that goes on with the town employees as well, as she's settling into her town administrator position. That's one of her priorities. So,
So Lynn, the employees that have maxed out, they would get nothing?
Only if you give a COLA. Yes, that is correct.
Only if we give a COLA?
Yep.
How do you max out? What's involved?
And I can send it to you. You may not have it. There is a scale, and it goes based on our grades, and then based on what step you are in. For example, I'm grade 17? Nope, 16. Grade 16, and I'm at step 4. And it depends on how long you're in a position, and each 2.5% brings you up a step. In the higher positions, it's 18 steps till you max out. In the lower positions, it's 15 steps. But if you're here for a very long time, and we have, well, just an example, 2 DPW workers that have been here since I was in high school, and they have maxed out. So they get their COLA when that's given in a year, and then that's the only increases that you get. Because at some point, you've maxed out your, just the step increases that you can get for your role.
I think almost 30%, last I knew, like 30% of the teachers in the school district are maxed out.
Right, and in the school district, we typically then have a thing for folks who are off step. So in other words, they are treated differently.
Yeah.
Because in other words, the concern that I have is a formula like this. The problem is that means if we have a modest COLA, that means the folks who are off step get nothing. Let's say that we zero it out, they would get nothing. That just seems.
Right, and you can always add an additional stipend for them if you choose, because they're at their max, but you want them to stick it out till they retire, or however you choose to do that. But yes, we have 4 employees that are maxed out. 2 just hit their max, and 2 have been there for quite a while. And if you want offline, I'll let you know the 4 that are there.
That changes things.
Well, I would say it changes it for those 4 employees as far as I'm
Right. But I think we need a mechanism to take care of them, basically, if we don't give them a step. I think that's not right. My thoughts were that we would give the step increase at 2.5% and then a 1.5% COLA. So that would be 4%. That was what I was thinking. But I
Right,
want-
and those that are maxed out would get just the 1.5%.
Right.
Which, again, they've done that in the past. That's how it has worked. So it's something that you could consider.
Then, I definitely want to look at something, another way to compensate them, to thank them.
I don't know if this was mentioned while I stepped out or not, but Janet and I were with the town administrator from Newbury and town manager from Sunapee yesterday, and the salaries just came up in conversation and what folks were doing. Newbury is starting a wage study on their own, and they made it very clear that they are communicating with their employees that any changes that will take place will not happen for a year, so that everyone has ample time to get used to, so that they have time to do the wage study, put something in place, and then also communicate and notify employees, but that they're giving a year before any changes go into effect.
And what is Newbury given this year?
Newbury is, Janet,
3%,
3%.
and Sunapee was 5.8%.
Yes, they were high.
Do they do the same thing as we do? They have step increase in COLA? It's just straight COLA? Or straight?
I can tell you Newbury does not have a step
Yeah,
program.
Newbury,
It's merit-based.
3% COLA.
correct. So Newbury is starting that process now, and that's why they're doing the wage studies, because they don't do this, they don't have any step program.
But Sunapee does? Is that why there's a combination?
Yes, and that's the combination of the two.
Lynn,
I don't know what Sunapee does. Honestly, I don't know if they have a step or if they have a COLA. So that amount is both
Combination.
together. Okay.
Apparently, the fact that they're in a default budget does not impact what they pay their employees, apparently. That's separate from the actual budget, no?
Depends on how the warrant article was written. If they are in a true default budget, then pays do not go up. It's unless you're in a contract or a collective bargaining agreement, pay does not increase. You go back to your last year's pay. They can choose to take the money out of other places in the budget in order to give those increases. But yeah, I think that's what's going on in Sunapee now, why they haven't landed on exactly what they're doing with the budget, because they're trying to figure out where do we take it from in order to compensate all the employees.
Right, yeah.
So the new numbers are for the next coming year, I guess in the hopes that they end up with an actual budget.
I would suggest that I'm in agreement with Janet's proposal for the 2.5% that is part of STEP, and another 1.5% as a COLA for a total of 4%, with the exception of our employees who are off STEP would get a 3% COLA because they're not getting the STEP. So in other words, I would treat the folks who are off STEP, because I'm concerned that, you know, if we go with a 1.5% COLA, this is why I'm not a fan, as you may have guessed, of this dividing up raises into 7 different categories, because I think it does create problems like this. I don't like the idea of our employees who are off step not getting a raise that at least keeps them, you know, at least in line with the proposed inflation rate. And that's why what I would suggest is 1.5%, and if you're off step, it's a 3%.
I can do that. I mean, I can do that within here to figure that out.
Okay. All right, so should we take a motion on this, okay. So could I have a motion to fund the 2.5% program for step increases, a 1.5% COLA for all employees that are on the step program, and a 3% COLA for the employees that are maxed out on the, do I have that right? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? No. Okay. Passed. All right, so you'll put those numbers into our thing.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
And I'll get you out a new summary sheet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right then. And I get, again, I'm committing to, I want to work on a policy this year that we put in place moving forward. That's fair for everybody, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Not only that, but we were supposed to have an employee committee discussing time off,
Right. That's
compensation
right.
for different
Those-
things, and
the
we
thing-
haven't done that as
We
well.
haven't done that. Yeah.
So I
let's-
think
we
that's
gotta do
really
that.
important.
Yep,
That's a
we've,
true statement.
BB and I talked through sort of the list of priorities, and that is hopefully over the winter, starting
Yeah.
December-ish, January, but starting that, it's looking at the handbook.
These are things, Rich, that came out of the wage study that was done, you know, how we do our vacation time, how we do our sick time, those things like that. And there were recommendations that were made. So add that to the list. So those things will be reviewed this year, plus this COLA thing moving forward. Okay? Okay. Awesome.
Great. Were there any other bigger topics you wanted to prioritize before?
Well,
I wanted to just state, to be clear, I had misstated in our last meeting, I think I said 250 or 260,000.
For the transfer station
I had
cottage?
misread the line.
Yeah.
And so Sam was correct that, and I'm sorry, Sam, it's how much, seven?
oh, it is 65?
65,000
yeah.
for, and that is for the cottage, what you refer to as the cottage over at the transfer station.
Yep, correct. 65,000 in 2031 just to do some foundation work and exterior work. There is a small amount of money in this year's budget just to do continued maintenance that was deferred to the building, but the actual capital request is 65,000 in 31. So
So my apologies for getting that wrong.
no worries. Nothing's taken.
Okay, so perhaps then we can vote on capital reserve transfers in and transfers out today. Okay. All righty. So, what I had recommended before was for transfers in, town building maintenance, 400,000, computer maintenance and replacement, 15,000, energy projects, 50,000, the employee leave buyout, 15,000, fire vehicle fund, 200,000, fire breathing apparatus, 25,000, fire department radio replacement, 15,000, communications equipment, 100,000. We still have that in there for now, but we're waiting on Chief Cobb to get back to us on whether she can delay the console purchase for dispatch, so we'll leave it in there for now when we're voting, and we may make an adjustment later on. Please.
She should have those numbers early next week. We've got a vendor coming on Friday.
Okay. Police equipment, 35,000. Sidewalks, 50,000. Remove conservation land acquisition. We're going to leave that at 0. Highway heavy equipment, 25,000. Sewer department, 150,000. Recreation facilities, 4,000. Ending balance, 1,084,000. And then I proposed also creating 2 new capital reserve funds, one for the town clock and funding that with $1,000, and one for the police communication facilities and fund that with 100,000. That brings a total of 1,185,000 for transfers in, which would be appropriate by taxes. So, anybody have any differences that they want to discuss from those suggestions?
I'm sorry, I can't find that particular sheet. You don't happen to have it, do you? If you don't mind. Thank you.
I need it back,
And just to be clear, the money for the dispatch center, the consoles,
Yep.
we're only talking about putting it in the budget. We're not actually agreeing to spend that money at this point.
So currently, the console budget, the console account has $250,000 in it. Chief's got in the capital improvement plan, the plan to spend $350,000 to upgrade them. They're at end of life. They're 10 years old. So we would need to put 100,000 into that account to be able to cover that 350,000 spend. We've asked her if she can look into moving that out 1 year in light of us doing this dispatch study this year, depending on the outcome of that dispatch study. And then, so then we could hold off on $100,000 being put in there this year, if she could put that spend off a year. So that's what we're sort of talking about.
So we're not committing to spending the money,
Correct.
putting it in the budget.
We're not,
We're going to raise it. We're not going to commit to spending it. until
right,
we-
and if she says she can put it off, we're not even gonna raise it,
Right, okay.
yeah.
Right, because the commitment was made last year to spend the $350,000 from that account, which we
Yeah.
have the money.
Yeah,
And she's going to look to deferring that
yeah,
Right, it's
to wait for the dispatch study.
with the obvious significant concerns that have been raised about dispatch.
Correct.
Yep.
You know, I just don't want to see us
oh, yeah,
spending that
spending
kind of
money and then,
Mm-hmm.
correct.
consoles that would be.
That's the point. That's why we're asking her to
Right.
see if it can be held off. Yeah,
Okay.
yep, exactly. Okay. Any other thoughts about any of the other things that I've mentioned? Nope. Okay,
Can I just ask, Sam, when you look at all the different proposed, you know, obviously a lot of different maintenance line items for different buildings and stuff, are you comfortable with where we're landing at this point?
I think so, yeah. I'm very confident where we're landing. And I guess I should ask you in a clarifying statement, comfortable in keeping up with the buildings, or what are we comfortable with? I guess I'm comfortable if we keep with the current budget that we will be continuing to preserve these buildings in a manner that won't require significant maintenance down the road that we've deferred. I think if we were to continue to cut or not fund capitals for buildings or chose not to, that I would be then uncomfortable and concerned. But as of right now, I feel very good about it, so.
Okay, good, thank you.
and you feel like we have enough money in the budget this year for the projects that you know you have to do? It was an increase of about $100,000 in your buildings and maintenance budget.
Yep, I think
You're
probably the limiting thing is gonna just be getting enough employees, on board with, not on board, but allocating the work. But I think that the money is there, and that's the important part. So if we need to hire it out, we can. But like I've said, most of it will be in-house, and I feel good about it. So the only other thing while I'm up here, if this will be from Lynn mostly, because it's kind of on the floor. Sorry, I saw you weren't looking, so I didn't want to catch you off guard. As of this morning, I did get a price back on the skid steer piece of equipment that I mentioned to you during the budget. I could save around $8,000 if we wanted to purchase it now versus waiting, and we talked about having that additional money because our backhoe came in so far under. The reason I'm bringing it up now is I don't know if that affects how much would go into capital reserves for highway equipment. I know it was a $75,000 request. I think you're only putting $25,000 in there this year from what I just heard because the account is kind of robust at this time, but I just figured I would bring it up as an offer.
Right, but I mean, that 25,000 only gets you a few years, and then we're going to be back into the negative, so I don't think that you should not do the 25,000 because Sam's saving us some money going forward, but
Yep.
Yep.
that's up to
Okay.
you guys, but
Okay.
you would have to approve the purchase as agents to expend
Yep.
for his skid steer.
So
Yeah.
you had $75,000 in here to be spent next year, but you're saying you can buy it now?
I could buy it now, I think, for about, well, no, I think it is about 68,000, and I do
Okay.
have some money in my budget that a couple projects came in under already, and
Yeah.
that I could buy the attachments for it out of the budget. So you could save about $10,000, I think.
Right.
I didn't have time to put all these numbers forward because I literally got them on my drive into work this morning,
Yeah.
but that's kind of where we're at there, so.
Okay.
So yeah, you could get rid of that 25,000 just to save that little bit
We
if you
could.
chose.
That's
Yeah.
just why I wanted to bring it up now, because it's an
Yep.
end-of-year sale on it.
So let me walk through this with the two of you.
My
Currently, we
apologies.
have balance in that fund of $1,212,000. We had in here to just throw 25 grand in there, and then with the plan to spend 75 next year. That's all Sam plans to spend next year on heavy equipment. So instead of that, he's moving the $75,000 purchase into this year, bringing it down to 68. Still leaves us a balance of 1.150, give or take. There's no plans for any other purchases until fiscal '28, and even then, we're still with a balance of 5. So yeah, there's $25,000 right now that we can just say we don't need to transfer in at the
The other
moment.
projection there as well is,
Yeah.
is that we will have There's money in there to buy a grader at some point. My hope is to not buy that grader, which
Right.
is about $600,000. Or if we were to absolutely have to, we would be buying a used piece of equipment at a greatly reduced rate. We've put in worst case scenario in that CIP because the grader is the most expensive piece of equipment.
Right.
If we pave these roads like we've talked about, that will not be needed. And if the machine continues to stay in good condition, you might not have to spend that $600,000. So
Yeah.
obviously the number, like Lynn's projections, is based on with that $600,000 grader, and that's
Yeah.
how we could end up in the negative.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Maybe next year you're taking it out.
I would like to, as long as we say that, as long as we continue to move in the way of, paving dirt roads, I think so.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Thank you.
So I would,
Sorry, Steve, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Can I just ask Sam, with I think 6 miles, you said, of unpaved roads, is that right?
yeah, correct, just about there. Yeah, 5 to 6.
How much does it cost to pave 6 miles?
You're really putting me on the spot. I think it's about $200,000 per mile right now, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So that's real off the cuff.
100, did you say 200
About, yeah, per
per
mile.
mile?
Yeah. Yeah, Whitney Brook was going to be 235 with the preparation it needed and such. That was like a total road kind of restoration, but, yeah. And, a lot of New London's roads now are kind of made up of a lot of small, dead-end dirt roads or side roads. You really only have very few, like, long-legged roads, which would be Whitney Brook, Old Main Street, and, like, Morgan Hill. Those are really your long sections of dirt roads. Other than that, you have smaller roads like Camp Sunapee, Beaver Point, things like that, so,
It's just interesting to me that you're talking about for the cost of a grader,
Yeah,
correct.
we
Yeah.
could.
do it all, yeah.
And some of the reason we hadn't was just due to the community pushbacks and concerns about paved roads, but I'll be working on that for next year, hopefully.
And, I'm sorry, my last question, forgive me. Do we have money at this point now in the budget if we wanted to begin work on adding some barriers down on Bunker Road? Do we have any line item where we would be able to take money out of? And I'm sorry, I think,
Or
Lynn, you
can we use
mentioned we do have
Yeah.
an account.
Yeah, it's called the Muni Transportation.
Municipal Transportation Fund, yep.
Yep, and it can be used for multiple things. It's the $5 you pay for every car
Do
registration.
we have in that account again?
I think it's like
I want to say
118.
118. Is that?
Yeah, I
we're,
believe so.
Ooh, we're
Last time I
landing on the
looked, it was
same
like
number.
118, so.
Yeah, it is.
To answer your question directly, Rich, I don't have something in my line items that I could cover a section of guardrail out
Where is
of
my
unless it came from capital or this municipal transportation fund. So,
Oh, yep. 118, 130.
118,000.
That is correct, and it kind of becomes a kind of a slush fund for any time we need something done that,
Right.
you know.
As long as you would have money available for us to potentially begin working on that.
okay.
That would
Yeah,
be-
that is something that prior administrations had gone down the road of, gotten price, and then when the community found out, they pushed back to the extent that the town revoked doing guardrail on that road. So it is something that we've looked at in the past, but the community pushed back and we ultimately took that back, so.
Do you, just out of curiosity, when you went through that process prior, do you have any recollection of price?
I do not. It
Okay.
was before I was in the leadership position, so I don't actually know what the number was. I just remember having to be part of the process.
Oh.
Adam might, because he was part of the process.
I don't think we ever got as far as price.
Okay.
The discussion, how to get people over the guardrail to their docks really ended things pretty immediately. There was some concern with the areas that may benefit most from having guardrails is the land is so tight to the road that there may actually be retaining walls and things that had to be built in order to, when you drive the piling down in the earth to create the actual holding power of it, if there's not land to stop it from just flopping over, then there may actually be some pretty significant construction work. And so things just sort of stopped there. I'm not sure, Rich and I haven't talked, I don't know exactly the spots you're thinking of, if they align with the exact same spots of probably 2018 or so when we had that conversation, but we can go down and take a look at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, concerned about, certain areas on Bunker Road where there are not significant trees to stop a vehicle potentially, where there's just very significant gaps.
Yep. And I think, Jay, do you remember, it was right after the car accident, which I think was like 2017, 18, which was right about by the Demers house, right? And then I don't know that we ever made it back towards, the Elkin side of things with talking with those folks. But obviously there's a close spot there too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I propose we remove the $25,000 for the Highway Heavy Equipment Fund. That lowers the total amount to $1,160,000 for transfers into capital reserves. If you guys are both okay with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so we've got that done, Lynn. And then, do you want us to take a vote on the transfers out? Okay, so transfers out.
And can I also ask that we put them all on as warrant articles this year, because
Yes.
the other way is making it crazy difficult?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on, I have last year's warrant. So you're saying,
Well, we didn't vote on capital on capital outlays because Bill wanted to just, your agents to expend, it's no big deal. But it's making it, the administration of it is becoming very complicated and catching all the stuff and then coming back to you to have you vote on expending that money. It's very
okay,
clean and simple if it's in as warrant articles.
okay.
And also, dare I say, more transparent.
Like this one, see if the town were $275,000 for the purchase of the new tanker. That isn't it?
That is in there, but all of Sam's stuff that he wanted to spend was not in there. There's just a
so you
lot
wanna
of
just do 'em all. Yeah, yeah,
expenditures
yeah.
that were not in there. So as
Got
long as they just go back in this
Yep.
year is helpful.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll run through this list quickly. We've got town building maintenance. It's a total dollar amount of $618,000. So you're saying you're going to break that out? For warrant articles? Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. But for this purpose, we'll just do the totals.
Right.
Record management system, $5,000. Fire vehicle fund, $132,303. Communications equipment, $350. We'll include it here in our vote today, and we'll amend it if chief comes back and says she can wait a year. Sidewalks, $200,000. Highway heavy equipment, $75,000. We'll approve it today, and then it can come out. It can be amended if later on. Although, hold that thought. I'll keep going. $133,000 for sewer department, $16,000 for recreation facilities, $85,000 for library building maintenance, a total of $1,614,303. Could I have a motion to approve those transfers out?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. I was gonna go back to highway heavy equipment. Do you need us to do a motion to approve the spending of the $68,000 for the skid? Or are we gonna wait?
We can wait for an exact number from him, and then we'll just come back to a select board meeting to do that.
All right, perfect. All right, so that, we've got that approved now. Could we approve the line items with, like, the, patriotic purpose, like some of these ones that, patriotic purposes, 300, go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, you can approve those line items, the smaller ones that aren't real archives,
Yeah,
some of
So-
those smaller, tiny ones in there.
okay, so let's do that. We have to, Rich, long story short, we have to, like, make motions and approve each one of these lines publicly, so, okay. Can I group them together in motions, or do we have to do?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go down here and say, we're good with we could probably do the whole sewer too, couldn't we?
You could.
Okay, so I'm gonna start at the bottom. So could I have a motion to approve?
And I'm sorry, maybe before you
Yep.
go any further, when you're looking at the comparative budget, what's the date on yours?
This one is October 28th. Right? You just gave us this one.
Yes,
Right, that should be in the pile that Ashley just gave you.
I left it.
It's brand new from yesterday.
Okay, so these amounts I think should be right.
They will be, but they will be adjusted again when I back down the COLA, because this includes
too.
a 3%.
The sewer will too?
The sewer will change too. I'm sorry. Yeah,
We won't-
I missed that.
We won't do that yet then. Capital outlays, we just did all of those. We just did the transfer to the capital reserves. Debt service, principal, and interest. So could I have a motion to approve debt service principal in the amount of $288,078 and debt service interest in the amount of $90,231?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's do,
If you want those that won't change based on the COLA, you're talking housing, conservation. As you move up that line, energy, housing, conservation,
archives, yeah.
other
I'm going up.
conservation.
Yep, I'm going up the line.
Okay.
So let's do that bulk right now. So can I have a motion to approve patriotic purposes in the amount of $300, archives and culture in the amount of $7,000, conservation in the amount of $27,498, energy commission in the amount of $900, other conservation in the amount of $31,400.
Which is for
Milfoil and other items.
And so that's where the protective associations fall.
And housing commission in the amount of $11,565.
I have a question about that. What do they need that money for? Adam, what do they,
Oh, I forget.
Who?
The
Housing
housing commission. It's-
Oh, so it's,
Adam,
part of it is the actual budget of $10,000 that they've asked for because the HOP grant is done.
what are they still doing that?
Oh, that Adam can address.
I'm sorry, Peter's really the one that should be answering this. But portion of that is also just their recording secretary, and they're generally running their
That's the 1565. So he asked for 10,000 in an appropriation for the commission to do what they do.
honestly, I don't prepare the Housing Commission budget, so I'm not as familiar, but I believe the idea is there will be some additional work for the consultants once the HOP grant has expired to still.
it's finalizing the stuff that they've been doing.
I mean, by statute,
We
the
can hold
commission
on
still
it.
has to exist until a vote of town meeting, I guess, could dissolve it. So
You know,
I believe they
truthfully,
plan to continue working on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, my recollection of Peter's presentation was that it also has to do with even some of the costs involved in putting on some of the public meetings that they've had for educational purposes to kind of review with the townsfolk the different things that we're facing regarding housing. I personally, having been to several of the housing presentations, have found for myself them to be enormously educational.
I know.
And so to my mind, to try and keep this, it seems to me like this is short money to try and keep this on the front burner so that folks are aware of what our options are, what the challenges are, et cetera. Again, I think it's money well spent because I think, to my mind, it's a major issue that is before the town.
And I believe it's $5,000 less than what they had asked for in years prior to the HOP grant. I think,
Years prior to the HOP grant?
yes, I
Okay.
think it used to be at 15,000.
Oh, wait, getting there.
There was a
Housing.
year before the HOP grant when we
That
had
is,
the.
that's correct.
Okay, so it is a, third
Yeah.
reduced.
Yeah. It's 10,000, 5,000 less.
I don't think the housing crisis is going anywhere, so I don't know that it's winding down.
Yeah.
This grant project is winding down, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so adding housing commission in the amount of $11,565. May I have a motion to approve those items?
Okay. So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Aye.
So do we want to vote on the library budget and make a note to say that we'd like to see it lowered because of the vote that just passed with the COLA recommendation?
What's the most appropriate way for us to do that?
Well, if you want them to address and see if they'll match our COLA, then I wouldn't approve any number for them right now. I would ask Richard to come back.
Okay, got it. All right, so that's what we'll do. I think we could do welfare and the intergovernment welfare, and we could do those two lines, I think. Those
That,
don't.
I'm sorry, is that welfare administration,
That's
441?
4, no, yeah, we can't do welfare administration because that's gonna get affected by the COLA
Yep.
So welfare payments?
decision.
No.
So intergovernmental welfare for $6,000, welfare payments to $60,000. May I have a motion to approve those two lines?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we're good. Health agencies, we could do. Health administration, we could do. And solid waste, we could do. So may I have a motion to approve solid waste for $46,000, health administration, $62.56, and health agencies, $254,661.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Street lighting, may I have a motion to approve that line in the amount of $13,200?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, dispatch, emergency management. Emergency management, may I have a motion to approve the line for emergency management in the amount of $12,500?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Advertising and registration associations.
That one is regional associations, but that is included in that line. The reason I jump in here is it's for Upper Valley. What's it going for? Upper Valley.
Upper Valley.
Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah.
For $78,000, but the other one is $15,000 for the Chamber of Commerce, and you guys did discuss moving that number down.
All right, so
So
you're gonna
12.5.
adjust that.
So if that's where you want to go with that,
Yeah, you'll adjust it.
yep, it is going to be, boom, $20,500 for that
So
line.
the line 4197, right,
Correct?
will be, sorry again,
$20,500.
$20,500. May I have a motion for line 4197, Regional Associations, $20,500?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. The other insurance line is ready for us to approve?
Insurance.
You have those numbers?
Let me make sure. Unemployment. Yes, those are accurate numbers.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve line 4196, the amount of $144,864?
I have a question.
Sure.
Lynn, who are our insurance agencies?
Primex.
It's Primex for our liability, our workers' comp, and our unemployment insurance.
Okay, and then who does the health?
Health Trust.
Health Trust.
And both of those are insurance pools, so that it's not just our risk, it's everybody's risk.
Right.
That helps keep those numbers down. And Primex actually went down on their liability this year, which was a nice surprise.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve line 4196, other insurance, in the amount of $144,864?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Cemetery I can do, right? Oh, no, does that
Nope,
have-
that's
no.
in COLA. Yep.
Okay, so buildings can I do?
Sure.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve line 4194 in the amount of $403,973?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that personnel administration, that has legal, we can do legal. And
Yes.
legal, you wanted increase to 50,000, right, Janet?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, I saw legal in two different places in our book. There was an actual,
Okay, let's see.
So I was under the impression that legal came out of our discretionary fund. Is that not the case?
It does not.
Okay. So there is
There's a separate line item. It's 4153
okay.
in your budget. And the line item includes the legal line item and then the animal rescue fees in case we have to transport an animal down to, because there's no local shelters that will house an animal for us if we don't find an owner. So that kind of helps it.
Okay, and the other question I had related to that was, what does Merrimack County they charge us for small things, apparently. But we already pay a fee to the municipality, so don't we get benefit of their legal expertise when we have a small claims?
That I don't know. I'm unsure of. That may be a question for Ashley, or even the police chief maybe
Okay.
has an answer for that.
Okay.
I know that we do have some free legal stuff from NHMA. They give us some free legal stuff, and there are some resources that we can go out to, such as DRA, but there's a point at which DRA will cut and run too. They'll tell us to go to council.
Well, I know that we're paying for the home, the county home. We pay for that.
Right, we pay four point
Prison.
something million in taxes go out to the county.
So I just wondered if we don't.
What we get for that?
Yeah, what do we get?
Yeah,
for that?
I honestly don't know what we get reciprocated for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm good with that.
So legal, you're good, you want that to be increased to 50,000?
Yeah, I think we should.
You okay with that, Rich?
I'm sorry, there's beyond the 35.5?
Correct.
So you want all told 50 or 50 for the legal and then 500 for, so 45?
All told 50,000.
50.
Okay,
And that would be for legal and,
oops.
Just legal.
And the dogs.
And the what?
Well, it's partly for the actual legal fees and then 500 for animal rescue
Oh, all
fees.
right.
So it would
All
be
total 50,000.
all told 50,000.
I'm just, Janet, why bump it up another 15,000?
Because I think we're going to have a lot of legal fees this year.
Yeah, no,
We're already involved in something.
No, yeah,
and
no,
we
I-
don't have Kim to.
no, and I
ask
agree.
questions of.
And, the fact is that if we don't spend it, we don't spend it, but at least we
Right.
have it.
Right.
At least we have it.
No, I think you're right.
Right, and do keep in mind, Primex is on the hook for the one thing, the water
Right.
thing we have, but because
we have
Kim is
another-
not here anymore,
Yeah.
there's a lot of legal questions that get tossed out that we have to go to our council now,
Yeah.
that we used to rely on Kim for.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve line 4153, legal in the amount of $50,000?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Excellent.
Okay, so assessing, tax collector,
That's-
finance, all the rest of it, I don't think we can do.
Assessing you can do because that,
Oh, because that's already set.
that's our assessor and our tax map.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we
you-
approved it
And
yesterday.
Tri-Town has approved this budget.
Yeah.
So may I have a motion to approve line 4152, assessing in the amount of $128,294?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think that's all we can do, which is good.
So what I'll do is I'll change the COLA as per your request, and then I will give you another summary sheet, and I will highlight those items that were affected by that COLA or that changed, so that you can just take a look at what is going to be affected.
Okay, awesome. All right. So guys, I think we're good for today. Ashley just stepped out, but I think she might have something that she wants to talk to us about. I see the orange paper over there.
But you have to go.
I do, and I just told her we would end this at 9:15 if she has some non-public that she has to tell us about, that it looks like she might. So we'll wait for her to come back.
No,
We
there
can,
isn't.
Adam, if you want to shut off this thing, motion to adjourn the Board of Selectmen working session.
You want that paper so you can move it non-public? Oh, you don't know why.
I don't know why yet, yeah.